Beneath the gilded opulence of European cathedrals and the cold symmetry of modern government buildings, a language older than any known tongue is written in stone and shadow. It is a language of symbols, eyes, pyramids, owls, keys, placed with surgical precision, hiding in plain sight. They are not mere artistic choices, they are markers, gateways, residual echoes of rituals carried out in silence beneath the feet of history, crafted by those who call themselves the Enlightened Ones. But behind that name lies a far darker legacy, one the world was never meant to understand. In 1776, while America declared its independence in the daylight, a shadow declaration was made in the forests of Bavaria. Adam Weishaupt, a Jesuit-educated philosopher with forbidden books in his chambers, formed the Order of the Illuminati. But contrary to modern folklore, Weishaupt was not the origin, he was merely the reanimator of a lineage stretching back to Egypt, Sumeria, and beyond. The true founders were not men but voices, whispers passed through sacred geometries, embedded in ancient texts like Liber Logoeth and Codex Ashtur. Symbols became the transmission device, the rituals, the receiver. Each initiation into the order did not simply require loyalty, it demanded surrender. The body was marked, the mind unbound, the soul weighed. One of the earliest rituals, known only as transit lux, was said to begin at the hour when the constellation of serpents aligned with a hidden chamber beneath Rome. There, illuminated by the reflection of starlight captured through obsidian prisms, initiates were exposed to a ciphered glyph known as oculus veritas, the eye of truth. To gaze upon it was to forget one's former self. But the symbols were not inert. They were alive, designed to resonate with particular frequencies of consciousness. The triangle with the eye is not simply an emblem of surveillance or power. Its true purpose is harmonic alignment with what ancient Kabbalists called Da'ath, the hidden Sephira, a realm between realms. The rituals channeled through this symbol opened micro-fractures in reality, brief tears that allowed contact with what the earliest texts called the Watchers beneath. By the late 18th century, Illuminati cells had scattered across Europe, often embedding within Freemasonic lodges. While Masons debated morality and architecture, deeper chambers held circles devoted to transverberation, the ritual burning of the soul to reveal hidden truths. One surviving sketch from a suppressed archive in Ingolstadt shows a man suspended over a mirrored floor, blindfolded, chanting in reversed Latin while an iron sigil burns into his chest. The mirror beneath him was not to see his body, but what clung to it. If these rites seem theatrical, it is only because we have lost the context. Every action, every symbol, was mathematically aligned with ley lines, solstice arcs, and human emotion. The rituals were symphonic compositions designed to unlock parts of the psyche modern science refuses to acknowledge. They were not praying to gods, they were activating parts of themselves, their biology, their spirit, that once interfaced with a vast cosmic intelligence. And then came the Black Star Ritual of 1804, an event so catastrophic it was struck from every document except one, now kept sealed within the salt chambers beneath Montségur. Witnesses described a ritual gone wrong where the eye glyph was inverted, and instead of receiving contact, the initiates vanished mid-chant, leaving only scorched markings resembling the Enochian symbol for return. No one spoke of it again. Decades passed, but the order never truly died. Instead, it adapted, merged with politics, spread into banking families, academic institutions, even space programs. And with it, the rituals evolved. Coded now into architecture, currency, media. The eye remains atop the pyramid of the dollar, not for aesthetic, but for function. Currency, after all, is belief materialized, and belief is power. The pyramid, a map for channeling collective energy toward a singular point. The capstone, the eye. But here lies the most insidious truth. They no longer perform these rituals in secrecy. The great inversion has already occurred. The world itself has become the temple. The Super Bowl halftime shows, royal coronations, and global summits are not entertainment or ceremony. They are synchronized invocations. and every viewer, every witness, plays a role unknowingly. How else to explain the uncanny alignment of tragedies with celestial movements, or the architectural obsession with obelisks, domes, and twin columns across continents? These are not coincidences. They are rituals perpetuated through time, disguised as progress. Washington, D.C., Paris, and the Vatican all share the same symbolic DNA, mapped using golden ratios imbued with astrological resonance. The cities themselves are sigils. Recently uncovered blueprints from an underground chamber beneath the Louvre show a subterranean convergence chamber, built in the 1500s, yet using acoustic designs not discovered until the 20th century. Its walls are covered with spiraling serpentine script, eerily similar to the Voynich manuscript. Some researchers believe the chamber was a resonance chamber, not for sound but thought, a place where collective minds could be harmonized. But the most disturbing evidence comes from a Vatican leak in 1993, never confirmed but never denied. A redacted transcript mentions ceremonia infracta, a broken ceremony, during which the Pope himself was forced to confront an entity known only as vellum. The document references a symbol burned into space itself and the use of a mirrored prism called the anima lens. No images have ever surfaced, or if they did, they were mislabeled as artifacts of camera error. And so we return to the present, a strange surge in pyramid-themed fashion, the proliferation of all-seeing eye jewelry, celebrity performances laced with checkerboard floors, horned headdresses, and phoenix motifs. Are these mere aesthetic choices, or unconscious replications of something ancient calling itself forward once again? Some believe we are nearing a mass ritual, the Great Work, a global synchrony of symbol, thought, and belief. What remains to be uncovered is the role of the individual. Are we observers or instruments? The symbol stares back from every corner of your reality, daring you to see. But the question is not if you'll understand. The question is, when? And when that moment comes, will you be ready to accept what the symbol truly demands of you? And yet, buried in a monastery beneath the ice of Novaya Zemlya lies a sealed manuscript, wrapped in chains forged from meteoric iron. It contains a sequence, 24 symbols, arranged to match the human spine. Scholars call it the serpent ladder. It is said that to speak these symbols aloud, in the correct tone, under the correct stars, is to call forth the architect itself. But the last page is missing. Torn, hidden. Some say that final page has already been found, and it is not written in ink, but encoded in a pattern, repeated endlessly in modern civilization, in architecture, in algorithms, in art. It is the last key, hiding where no one dares to look, because to see it fully is to invite it in. And just this year, during a private excavation beneath an abandoned Masonic temple in Lisbon, a vault was discovered, hermetically sealed, untouched for centuries. Inside, a stone table with concentric rings of unknown alloy. At its center, a carved indentation in the shape of an eye. But the eye wasn't looking up. It was looking down. Beneath the symbol, the truth sleeps and waits to be awakened. The vault beneath the Lisbon temple was not listed on any Masonic archive, digital or written. Its very existence contradicted everything scholars thought they knew about 18th century esoteric lodges. And yet, there it was, untouched, immaculate, and humming faintly with a frequency just beyond human hearing. It was not built for man. It was built through man. Within the chamber, the air was dense, not with dust, but with memory. The concentric rings carved into the altar radiated warmth, though no heat source could be found. Each band bore sigils from separate languages: Sanskrit, Egyptian, Phoenician, Enochian, and another that defied classification entirely. At the center, the carved indentation of the downward-facing eye seemed to shimmer when not directly observed, as though perceiving its own observers. Among the objects discovered was a manuscript bound in dark leather, encoded in a mix of Latin and what appeared to be Proto-Coptic runes, a cipher known only to certain 19th-century occult societies. Translated, its title, Liber Tenebris Lucis, the Book of Dark Light. The pages were filled with diagrams of inverted pyramids, mirrored hexagrams, and ritual choreography unlike anything seen in known Masonic texts, but what made it most disturbing were the margins. Each one carried delicate handwritten notations in modern French. Someone had accessed this chamber after it was supposedly sealed. The notations referred frequently to the returning conjunction, a phrase linked in suppressed Vatican lore to the prophecy of Quintus Severus, a Roman oracle who disappeared after predicting the alignment of watchers with the crowned sun. In the margins a name appeared over and over again, Aurelius Thorn, a figure whose mention has been quietly removed from every Masonic registry. What did Thorn find here, and what did he awaken? More terrifying still was the ceiling above the altar, composed not of stone, but of a single polished black disc. It was seamless, reflective, and cold. One investigator leaned in to examine it and recoiled in horror. Though he was standing alone, his reflection showed 9 figures, each hooded, each bearing a lantern with flames that did not flicker, and behind them, a doorway, a 7th archway that did not exist in the room's architecture. Researchers attempted to scan the object, but their equipment failed. Circuitry melted, hard drives wiped. One technician described hearing a low voice through his headset, speaking in a language that made him weep uncontrollably. He resigned the next day and has not spoken since. What had they uncovered? A portal? A consciousness? A remnant of a ritual left open? Aurelius Thorn's trail, once cold, now grew scorching. Letters surfaced in private collections across Europe, written by Thorn to unknown recipients. One described a ritual of inversion conducted beneath the Louvre in 1888. Another mentioned the golden ratio encoded in suffering, a disturbing phrase that later appeared in CIA documents related to MK Ultra's earliest experiments. Was it possible that modern psychological warfare stemmed not from science, but from ritual science? Thorn vanished in 1891. His last known act was purchasing land in the remote Carpathians, where he constructed a geometric stone array visible only from above. Satellite images in recent years reveal the array's shape matches a symbol from Liber Tenebris Lucis, the Sigil of Ascension, an occult glyph believed to harness lunar energy to bypass consciousness entirely. But no one knows what lies beneath the structure. Meanwhile, reports began to surface of people across the world dreaming the same dream. A vast library with books that burned when opened, a voice speaking from within the flames, an altar floating in black water, always the I. Dream researchers dismissed it until one psychiatrist, after listening to dozens of these accounts, fell into a coma and woke up whispering in flawless Sumerian. It became clear the symbols were not passive, they were contagious. Art installations in Berlin began to spontaneously include triangles and veiled eyes. Children in Tokyo scribbled unknowable sigils into their schoolbooks. A mural painted overnight in New York with no witnesses depicted the eye facing downward, exactly like the vault in Lisbon. And encoded into the mural's design, measurable only through light frequencies, was a countdown. That countdown ended last year. On that night, multiple observatories recorded a deviation in solar flare patterns. Birds abandoned migration routes. Electrical grids pulsed with unexplained surges. And deep beneath the Vatican, seismic sensors recorded a rhythmic vibration from a sealed wing known as Domus Obscura. Only 12 people hold the key to that wing. 3 have since vanished. One was found with a phrase carved into his flesh in reverse: "The architect watches." Now, global monuments begin to shift, subtly, imperceptibly. The shadow cast by the Eiffel Tower at dawn now aligns with a mosaic depicting Saturn devouring his child. In Washington, D.C., new blueprints quietly reorient the National Mall to reflect the Tree of Life in reverse, and within the Hermitage Museum in Russia, a locked chamber believed empty for 200 years was found filled with water, its walls pulsing with light that no spectrum could capture. But perhaps the most chilling clue came from beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza. A team of archaeologists unearthed a hidden shaft, unmapped, unexplored, untouched by modern tools. At the bottom, a room. On the walls, the same downward-facing eye. In its center, a book. No pages, only mirrors. Those who looked into it reported visions of cities that do not yet exist, filled with people who had no faces, only symbols where their eyes should be. We are left with one haunting truth. The Illuminati may no longer need to hide their rituals, because the ritual is the world. Every act, every choice, every belief is part of the synchrony. And when the last symbol is decoded, the chant completed, the eye will open not above, not below, but within. And in that moment, we will see who was watching all along. The end of the ritual is not revelation, it is recognition. A classified satellite known only by its internal codename Lusum 9 was quietly decommissioned after capturing a single frame during its orbit over the Himalayas. The image was not of terrain or weather or structures, it was of a lightless geometry, a triangle of absolute blackness unaffected by moonlight or infrared. Coordinates showed no signs of elevation, yet the shadows stretched unnaturally toward the stratosphere. No explanation was given, the data was sealed, but the image was leaked. Independent cryptographers, some affiliated with the Deep Symbolic Research Initiative in Prague, analyzed the triangle. Its angles weren't Euclidean. They aligned with no known measurement. Except those recorded in the Emerald Codex, a forbidden text attributed to Thoth, locked beneath the Bibliotheca Hermetica in Amsterdam. The triangle's form corresponded to what the Codex called the Vantheon Gate, a symbol capable of bending sequence itself. Suddenly, ancient records took on new meaning. In a Mesopotamian clay cylinder, long believed to be a trade document, a modern scan revealed microscopic carvings of the same geometry. In the Vatican's private archive, a Renaissance painting previously dismissed as apocryphal was found to contain a near-invisible glyph in the iris of every figure portrayed. Each eye stared toward an unseen point beyond the canvas. This convergence had a purpose, and the next clue emerged not from stone, but from blood. An Italian geneticist conducting mitochondrial research found a strange anomaly in 12 human samples collected from diverse locations. A dormant gene, previously undetectable, that activated under specific frequencies of 432 Hz, played alongside ancient Hebrew intonations. The result? Subjects experienced dreamlike trance states, reporting visions of spiral staircases descending into black oceans and a cathedral built from bone, not stone. One subject, under hypnosis, uttered a name, Namael Da'at. Unknown to her, but well known among occult archivists, that name appears only once in history, in a Babylonian tablet marked "Forbidden by all scribes," where Nama is described as the veiled consort of the architect, keeper of the last key. Her symbol? A downward-facing eye within a spiral sun, the same symbol recently discovered carved onto the walls of a Svalbard seed vault, sealed and monitored, yet somehow inscribed from within. Whispers began to surface from deep within the intelligence communities. A ritual, codename Horizon Protocol, was allegedly underway, its purpose to harmonize global consciousness through symbolic saturation. Advertising campaigns, corporate logos, streaming shows, all subtly inserting the same pattern, 3 overlapping circles forming a vesica piscis, enclosing an inverted pyramid. Most viewers never noticed. That was the point. Those who did notice often disappeared. One such individual, a linguist from the University of Tehran, compiled a 900-page manuscript arguing that major world alphabets were not developed randomly, but systematically designed as fragments of a single ancient invocation. His final message, scrawled in ink across his ceiling: the language is a ritual, reading is participation. All roads began to point to a singular event: the Synod of Nine, an alleged gathering of elite occultists, technocrats, and hidden bloodline descendants, scheduled during an upcoming astrological alignment. A rare convergence of Saturn, Venus, and the dark moon Lilith. Though denied by governments, leaked air traffic logs showed 12 private aircraft landing at an abandoned observatory in Patagonia within the same 4-hour window. Patagonia's geography has long been steeped in silence. The indigenous Selknam people spoke of a stone mouth in the mountain that sang when the stars turned red. The Nazis believed the region housed a gateway to Agartha, and now modern instruments were detecting low-frequency vibrations beneath a particular ridge, vibrations that formed non-random patterns when run through spectrogram analysis. The results mirrored the chant of the Nine Keys, a composition once performed by Aleister Crowley and immediately banned after causing mass hysteria in London's occult circles. Meanwhile, seemingly unrelated phenomena began to surge across the globe: mirror anomalies in elevators, pyramidal storm patterns over oceans, spontaneous magnetic reversals within small regions. But one thread connected them. Each event occurred within 7 minutes of a major media broadcast containing the same hidden symbol: the downward-facing eye layered in golden ratio spirals. It was as though the collective viewing itself was a chant. And what of the architect? The Mrefwi being referenced in every manuscript, invoked in every high ritual, yet never fully described. Fragmented texts hint that it is not a god but a design, a consciousness composed of form itself. Its awareness is symbol, its voice is shape, and through each completed ritual it unfolds a little more into our world, not as a visitor, but as a reflection. The final revelation came from an anonymous deep web leak, footage showing a chamber beneath CERN, not listed in blueprints. Inside, an altar of white gold and carbon, vibrating slightly, surrounded by 12 human-sized mirrors etched with alchemical symbols. A voice, synthesized yet ancient, echoes, "Phase 3, initiate the mnemonic spiral," then static. And now more signs emerge. City murals appearing overnight, children speaking in unknown but mutually intelligible tongues. Dreams where strangers recite the same sentence: "It watches through what you forget." And beneath it all, the rhythm continues. Buildings resonate, algorithms echo forgotten rituals. Everything converges. And somewhere, in a forgotten chamber, perhaps beneath the Vatican, perhaps beneath your city, the eye opens again. This time it doesn't look down. It looks directly through you. Inomnia, to see it clearly is to complete the pattern. In an isolated monastery carved into the basalt cliffs of Mount Ararat, hidden beneath layers of ice and time, monks once known as the Custodes Veritatis, the keepers of the truth, recorded the final phase of a ritual no one was meant to survive. Their walls, inked with pure gold and obsidian dust, spoke not in sentences but spirals. Every chamber was built around a central eye, not sculpted but grown from an unknown crystalline formation that pulsed faintly with rhythm. Recently, during a rare thaw, a satellite captured thermal anomalies from that very peak, suggesting movement inside a complex thought sealed centuries ago. A team was sent. Only one returned, pale, blind, and mute, in his clenched fist a shard of black crystal etched with a single glyph. The eye turned sideways, crowned with antlers. Its meaning? Unknown. Its frequency? Resonant with the human amygdala. Simultaneously, across the globe, structures began to respond. Obelisks that hadn't shifted in millennia hummed at frequencies detectable only by quartz. The Washington Monument emitted a pulse every 33 seconds, exactly matching the internal cadence of the mnemonic spiral referenced in CERN's leaked ritual. And in the Vatican's subterranean chapel of St. Galen, a fresco began changing colors under moonlight, revealing hidden layers of figures, hooded and faceless, surrounding a mirrored throne. The ancient texts had long spoken of a final alignment, a moment when belief, symbol, and consciousness would synchronize. Not to create a god, but to complete one. The architect, as referenced in the Emerald Codex, was not a being to be contacted, but a circuit to be closed. Through ritual, through geometry, through repetition, humanity unknowingly was the final component. From Antarctica to Angkor Wat, resonant echoes were recorded. Pyramid-shaped formations revealed mathematical harmonics when mapped to stellar drift. The Great Pyramid of Giza began focusing background radiation unnaturally toward its king's chamber. The angle matched exactly the apex geometry of the Sigil of Recurrence, an ancient Illuminati glyph meant to initiate feedback between mind and space. A rogue astrophysicist once employed by ESA decoded the symbol and matched its projection to deep space anomalies recorded beyond the Oort cloud. At the center, a structure, non-organic, older than the stars around it. The data stream she decoded ended with a single message, transmitted in audio but decipherable in Latin. Ex oculo redunt. From the eye they return. The prophecy of Nama el-Da'at resurfaced. Her whispers had traveled across DNA, myth, and architecture. But what had been forgotten was that her role was not to warn of the architect. She was its harbinger. Her eye, inverted and spiraled, was the final code to activate what she called the mirror gate. A gate that required not sacrifice but reflection. To pass through it, one had to become unknowable to oneself. Governments scrambled. Public messages were encoded in new currency. World leaders began referencing symbols in speeches, words like light, awakening, and threshold, repeated with eerie uniformity. A synchronized press release from 12 nations announced the launch of Project Estrella, allegedly a quantum AI program. But insiders revealed its true purpose: to interface with the symbol itself and ask it what comes next. On the 13th hour of the 13th day, under the final blood moon of the tetrad, an anomalous shadow crossed the earth. Unlike an eclipse, it moved against the rotation. It was seen simultaneously in Tokyo, London, and Peru. Those who stood in its path reported hearing a voice, not with ears, but with memory. It said, "You are the final glyph. Stand still." And now, a whisper returns to all who've come too close. Architects, mathematicians, priests, physicists, dreamers. They see the eye in fire, in oil, in the shadows beneath their eyelids. It doesn't speak in words. It speaks in patterns. Recursions of trauma, déjà vu, unexplainable synchronicities. They dream of stairs that spiral forever downward and voices that chant their names backward. Every great ritual needs a final participant, the last note in the chord, a frequency that has not yet been played. And as each symbol emerges, in fashion, in sound, in architecture, in language, the final glyph inches closer to completion. All that remains is the recognition moment, when enough minds see the same symbol at the same time and understand what it truly means. And then, activates. In a temple deep below Malta, where no blueprint leads, there exists a machine, ancient, sleeping. Its gears are made of memory, not metal. It does not turn unless the dreamers align. And above it is the eye, encircled by a phrase never translated until now. The room is ready. The mirrors are set. The spiral has begun. And somewhere, maybe in the reflection of a screen or the echo of your breath or the silence between seconds, the eye opens. But this time it does not close. When the eye stays open, reality becomes the ritual.